Hello everybody, welcome back. I hope everyone out there is doing good, especially in these times. I hope everyone's staying safe, protecting themselves. Today we're going to talk about if it's the right time to go out there and buy a car. Now, I know at this time that doesn't really seem like that's something a lot of people are thinking of right now, but as I mentioned in my previous video, I do work in auto finance, and yes, there are people out there who are still purchasing vehicles. So if you're one of those people who are still thinking about a car purchase, I could definitely give you some helpful and insightful tips to kind of think about if you're going to move forward with that purchase. The first thing I want to get into is that I really think that it's important to really sit and think about and analyze if this is the right time for you to actually be buying a car right now. Yes, it's unfortunate that a lot of people are not working, and I know plenty of people who are being affected by stay-at-home orders and what have you, but there are people out there that still are able to work and are thinking about buying a new car or needing a new car. It's very important to kind of sit and think, is this the right time? Because you know there's a lot of uncertainty going on. You might want to rethink and wait, but if there's no risk of you losing your job or anything like that, then you should still think about trying to get that vehicle and try to get the best offer out there. Because the last thing I'm sure anyone would want to do is go out, get a new car, and a month or two later we're still quarantined and everything, and you have no way of paying for the vehicle you just purchased. Now there are ads I've been seeing that have been going around saying 0% for however many months, and you have 3 months of deferred payments and what have you, and those sound nice, and it's a good way that they're trying to protect the customers who want to buy their vehicles. But as I mentioned in another video, deferred payments aren't always a good thing depending on what your finances are and your situation. Okay, so if you've sat there and thought about it and you said to yourself, I think this is still a good time, what I would suggest first is to know what car you want to get before actually going to the dealership. Research and get all the knowledge you can on that particular vehicle, or even if there's a couple you have in mind, I would at least kind of narrow it down. And the way you could go about doing that is research the average price for that vehicle, what it's going for right now, and also compare prices from your local dealerships and to look through their inventory. How that's going to help is by you knowing what you want, you'll be able to avoid that when you go into the dealership by the salesman offering you something that you're completely not even interested in. Like maybe it's a different trim that they'll try to push to you, and it's not really anything that you want, and it'll save you a lot of time as well. And you'll already kind of know what price it's starting at, so it's not going to be any shock once you get into that finance manager's office. You'll know exactly what you're in for, and also you'll kind of know maybe what add-ons you want. That's why it's always good to do your homework to make sure what exactly you're getting into in the terms of price, features the car is going to have, just so you are fully aware of everything that will be going on when you get to the dealership. The reason why you'll want to compare prices from different dealerships is because dealerships all over the country are wanting to push out their inventory. So they may have a lot of sales and rebates going on that'll kind of knock down the price to where it's a better deal than it would be initially you getting it without any type of discounts. So look around to see who's offering a good special. It's always good to buy something you want for a lesser price, right? I think it's always good to look out for a sale no matter what you're buying. So I guess you could kind of take advantage of what's going on right now. So it can work out in your favor if you really do your research and check. Another way in which you'd be able to get everything ready before you get into the dealership is to try to see if you can get pre-qualified with a couple different lenders before going in. And that helps because if you're able to do so, it'll kind of help you to know what your rate is going to be and like what to expect in the regard of interest before going in, because you know the car, let's say this, you know the car you want, and if you get pre-qualified with a particular lender, then they'll be able to give you an estimate on the rate they'd be willing to provide, and that's all based on income and credit and things like that. So it kind of gives you a good indication in what, like, where you stand. One lender might give you a completely different rate than another, to where once you get to the dealership, that's going to cut down on time. You kind of already know who is going to give you the lower rate. So when you get to the dealership, you won't have to worry about them running your credit with 10 different lenders, and you already know maybe like 3 or 4 of them didn't give you the best rate. So why get those dings on your credit report when you know they aren't the best offers? So that is one of the things I would highly advise everyone to do. Not every lender has it available, I think, to do it online. Knowing all of your numbers before getting to the dealership, it's going to save you so much more time. I'm telling you, because the number one thing that takes the longest at the dealerships is the finance office, because they're going back and forth with different lenders trying to get you the best rate. And sometimes, and this might not be something a lot of people generally know, but sometimes dealerships will try to push you onto a particular lender, even though they're not the lender that's giving you the lowest rate. They'll kind of push it because their profit from it is higher than what the other lender would choose. So they're going to look out for their best interest instead of yours, because the dealership's bottom line is to make money. They'll look out for you a little bit depending on the salesman. There are really good salesmen out there in dealerships that really want to take care of their customers, but the majority don't. Just have to put it out there, not to down anybody that works at a dealership, but we know what it is. I worked at a dealership for a couple weeks. Afterwards, I'm like, no, this is not for me. But their bottom line is to make money for the company, not to help you save money. So they're going to do that however they can. So you have to be one step ahead of them and know that you already got your good deal and you're not depending on them. So definitely try to get pre-qualified to see. So I hope you guys take advantage of that opportunity out there, and don't wait to get to the dealership. Do it before you get there. I'm telling you, you're going to thank me later. You'll see. Now, if you're looking to trade in your car for a newer one, another good thing to do before you get into the dealership is to see what the current value of your car is going for right now. And you could do that by going to sites like kellybluebook.com, which I think it's just kbb.com, and nada.com, sites like that. And you could kind of get like a general idea of like the estimate of what your car is currently worth. And you really can't 100% go off of what it says on the website. That's kind of used as just like a guideline. They're gonna look at everything. They're gonna look at the condition to see if there's anything wrong with anything under the hood, like engine, transmission type things. And obviously a website isn't gonna be able to look at your cars, because that's an important factor. If one of the websites say your current vehicle is valued at $5,000, but the dealership is only offering you $3,000. That's a big difference. $2,000 towards the newer vehicle that you get. That's a lot of money. That's $2,000 you either will have to pay or don't have to pay. So that's why it's of utmost importance to see what your vehicle is valued at, because I've seen some people get lowballed for their cars. Now, obviously, I don't know all the information. I don't know the car's like condition and whatnot, because I think sometimes they even factor in if it's been in like accidents or had damage. But I've seen like a fairly new vehicle only have a trade-in value of like $2,000 when it was like a 2015 or 16. So I don't know how that happened, but dealerships will lowball you if they have the opportunity to. So that's why I always stress for you to do your homework before you go out, because if you do your homework, as I mentioned, you'll be one step ahead of them, and they can't BS you around with stuff you know is not true. Okay, so now you've determined what car you want. If you have a trade-in, you know exactly about how much the current value of the vehicle is. Okay, so you're ready to go into the dealership now. Now, another piece of advice I want to give is to try not to go on a busy day, because again, like I said earlier, nobody wants to spend hours upon hours at a dealership. I've heard stories of people like coming in early afternoon and leaving when it's closed, which for most dealerships, that's around 9 p.m. I would have personally left if that would be the case for me. I don't need a car that bad. But right now, that might not be something you run into. No, it's probably not a lot of people going to dealerships right now, but when everything gets back to normal, I would always advise to go on a day where it's not super busy. Now, the busiest days for a dealership, I believe, are gonna be like Friday and Saturday and Mondays. So at least if you want to consider Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, I think those would be good days to go. Everybody's off of work, and that's the day we all go out and do things, is mainly on Saturday afternoons. So if you can, I know everybody's work schedule doesn't always allow it, but I mean, if you have to, of course you have to. At least go early, anytime afternoon, 12 p.m. It's probably gonna get really bad. Or maybe if you do have to go on a Saturday, I would probably go in the early morning when they open up, or 5, 6 p.m. because those peak hours are probably gonna be around 11 a.m. or noontime to about like 4 or 5 o'clock. So if you avoid those peak hours, I think you'd probably be good to go. But you don't want to spend all day, you know what you want. You don't want to have to wait extra time anyway, because that's what you were looking to avoid in the first place by doing all your homework. So I would advise you guys to take that into consideration. We just want to buy our car and leave. And you don't want to make a rush decision on something, for example, like you don't even want, something that's out of your budget. You don't want to have to make the wrong decision when you're going in. So that's why you don't want to feel rushed when you get in there, because sometimes the salesman will kind of try to pressure you to buy something that you weren't even looking to buy in the first place. Do not buy anything that you're not wanting, no matter if it's more expensive, cheaper, because you don't want to buy a car that you're just like, okay, I accept it because that's what I had right now and I don't want to leave and go home without anything. Because it's a sucky feeling, but ultimately if you make that decision down the line, you're going to regret it if you get something that you weren't looking for. You do your inspection also, because I think that's sometimes something people may forget or not really do thoroughly enough. So I would advise you to think about doing that also, if time allots. No, time better allot. Shit, I'm buying this car. Another thing that you're also gonna wanna look into while you're at the dealership, or this might be something you can possibly do before too, depending on if it's available to you, the VIN number I should say, is to look on CARFAX for yourself to make sure, if you're buying a used car, you want to make sure that the vehicle hasn't had any previous damage or been in accidents, or because I think on CARFAX you can also see like if there's mechanical issues. Not 100% sure on that, but you want to make sure that they're not trying to sell a car to you that's been in an accident, because again, this hits kind of close to home for me, because I was sold a car and they lied to me and showed me a fake CARFAX, and the car had previous damage. I vowed to myself, if I ever buy a used car, which is highly likely, or maybe I might splurge on a new car, who knows? I think it's $40 to just buy the CARFAX myself, because I'm never gonna get swindled into buying a car that's been damaged in the dealership lie. Like I said, they janky. So I wasn't surprised, but try to see it for yourself, because dealerships do falsify CARFAX statements. I've heard it happen to people in customer service. So it's definitely a common practice. And a lot of the bigger dealerships will also have it available on their websites for free for you to look. That's kind of when you know the dealership might kind of be okay. They're presenting that information to you just upon looking on their website for free. So take advantage of that as well if it's available. Huge thing to look into. Y'all don't want to be me. I'm telling you. All right, here comes the fun part. Finance. Now, the first thing the finance manager or whoever, the business manager, whoever you're gonna speak to before you sign the contract, let's say you agree to all the terms and what have you, you're set on that part. Now, what they're gonna do is try to sell you what's called back-end products. And these are things like a warranty, gap, a maintenance contract, things like that. Not everybody has to listen to what I have to say on this part, but just from what I've come to learn working in auto finance, if you're gonna purchase a service contract, make sure you know exactly what's covered, because in my opinion, service contracts are almost like a waste of money. Sometimes they are helpful for some people when they need it, but the majority of the time, the repair that needs to be done isn't covered by that extended warranty, whatever way they will try to sell it to you at the dealership. So usually when you agree to a service contract, which is the warranty, they should give you a page that kind of shows what's covered and what's not, and like the terms and everything. So if you decide to get one, you want to make sure to have that page. And if for some reason that particular contract doesn't come with the page, ask that finance manager what it entails. And if they say, oh, they'll let you know, no, ask them right then and there. Hey, like, I'm not getting this if I don't know what's covered. If it comes to that, it'll come to that. If they want to make the sale, they will make sure to try to get that information to you. So that's why you want to get every piece of information that you can when it comes to these things, because if you need it, you don't want this to be added to into your financing and it's something that's of no use to you, and it's a big waste of time and money. So I personally will probably never get one, but if it's something you feel that would be beneficial for you to have, by all means, get it. But make sure to find out what comes with that warranty, what's covered, what's not, so you know beforehand. And you don't have to be in shock when you need to use it and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, but we don't cover that. You would have to pay out of pocket, or we're only gonna pay 20% of this repair. No, we don't want that at all. What gap insurance pretty much is it stands for Guaranteed Auto Protection or Guaranteed Asset Protection. Guaranteed Asset Protection, yeah. So what it'll do is, let's say you're involved in an accident, your insurance claims it's a total loss, but what the insurance company is gonna cover doesn't fully pay out your entire balance that you owe to your lender on the vehicle. That's where gap comes into place. Gap insurance, as long as it hasn't lapsed or anything like that, they will usually come in and pay the balance that you owe left, to where you don't have to continue to pay out of pocket. That's generally how it works. And things like maintenance, those are usually going to be like car washes, oil changes, I think like scratch repair. They have a whole bunch of different ones. I feel like some of it is BS. You can do all of that yourself. If you need it, you could always still go out and get it. I don't think you really need to have that finance. So I don't ever want to tell somebody not to do something. We're all adults. We can make our decisions. But I think it's a waste of money, to be honest. I'm just saying. The dealership does make money off of them. So they will always push it to you. Another thing to mention is that these things could usually be canceled and you could be refunded for it. Even though the cancellation is available, it's a huge hassle, I'm telling you. And it takes forever. Because what's going to happen is you'll have to go to the dealership. Now, you don't contact your lender for this, because this was a question we always got in customer service. We don't handle like gap and warranty cancellation. You have to go to the dealer and they initiate it. And then what's going to happen is that that company is going to, I guess, look through everything and look at your contract and determine however much you're going to be refunded. And this is the part I'm not 100% clear on. I think they send the check to the dealership, and that dealership is supposed to, I think, forward it to us, or I think the gap or warranty company sends it straight over to us. That part I'm not sure, but whatever way, it takes weeks. Sometimes for some people, months. So that's why you need to be sure if you're moving forward with this, and once you make a decision of getting it, stick to it. But I mean, if you don't care about going through hassle for things, you'll see it through until it's done, then by all means. And this is the most important part when you're in the financing office, is to look at your paperwork before you sign it. This is the biggest thing that I could advise everyone to do, because you want to look everything through. Don't feel like you're rushed. Take your time. You're the customer. They're hoping that you buy. You're doing them the favor at the dealership. So don't feel like you have to hurry up and just sign. They usually tell you what each page is saying, but I feel like it's good practice to know exactly what every page is stating. And the number one thing you want to pay attention to is your Fed box, which if you have a copy of your contract, it's going to be the boxes. For most contract templates, it's at the very top of the first page. It's going to show you the finance charge, your APR, also your amount financed, and the total sales price of the vehicle, including any cash down or trade-in. So you want to make sure, because that amount financed box and also that finance charge, those are the two boxes you want to look into. They should have told you the APR already, but that finance charge box, that's the biggest thing, because it's going to tell you exactly how much interest you're going to be paying back the lender, assuming you make all of your payments on time and you're never late. Because if that box says it's $14,000 and you bought a $30,000 vehicle, you're paying half of the amount financed back in interest. I would advise everyone to consider, and this is subjective to people. Some people don't care. If they want a car, they want a car and they're going to get it. But in my opinion, if your finance charge is anything over, and this is pushing it too, but anything over $10,000, that's a car I do not need to get. Now, this also depends on the amount that you're financing, because if the amount financed is the actual cost of the vehicle that the lender is loaning you. So if the amount you financed is $20,000, now the instance I just said, if it's $10,000, that's a deal I would not go for, because it's an extra 50% you're paying back in interest. $20,000 car finance, you're going to pay $10,000 back in interest. That's too much. Now, if you bought a $40,000 car and it's $10,000, it might not be as bad. Now, the numbers thing, it's really hard, because you have to look at both things to kind of consider if it's really a good deal. Now, everything doesn't have to be the best. It could be fair, if fair is all that you can get. But let's say if you got that same $20,000 and your finance charge is only $4,000, way big of a difference from $4,000 to $10,000. The higher your rate, the more interest you're gonna pay back to the lender you decide to go with. And another part of your contract you're gonna wanna look through is the itemization, because a lot of the times there's gonna be a whole bunch of different fees that you're gonna have a question about. And you could definitely ask the dealer or the finance manager, whoever you're speaking with, to tell you what each of these different fees are going towards, because sometimes there's things on that like, what does that mean? And it's always totally fine to ask them about that. See exactly what is being charged to you. By the way, that's what the itemization is. It's each line is showing you what is going to, for what amount. Like you'll see your cash price is usually the top part, then it'll show any sales tax. Sometimes you have your title and license fees, which will go sometimes to the county that you live in and to the state. Those are, those are inevitable. Then you'll have like your documentary fees or doc fees, and I guess that's what they charge. And those are optional. Those are not, the doc fees are not required by law to charge to you. So if you see that it's kind of high, ask them why it's so expensive. And then all, if any, back-end products that you decide to get will also be itemized separately, and you'll be able to see the charge for each of them. Okay, and also before signing your name on that line, you want to make sure you have no doubts, no concerns, because once you put your signature on that line, there's no going back. Because there is a clause in the contract where most of them, I think, say there's no cooling off period, and you're technically buying as is. And I think the part where you sign, it states that you're agreeing to buy the car as it is, and you have no right to give back the car. I think that's what it says. I could be wrong, but either way, once you sign it, you can't return the car. You're stuck with it. Let's just say you drove off with the car, you've driven it for a weekend, you're like, oh, I hear a knocking noise or a really loud noise when I drive. And you're like, I don't like this car. I don't like the way it sounds or drives. And you try to go bring it back to the dealership. Nope, it's too late. You can't do anything. And you can't call your lender and do anything either, because your lender is pretty much only there for financing. We don't have anything to do with mechanical issues, any problems that you're having with like the dealership. Now we take down and note those concerns, because some lenders will have departments where they have people look into dealership complaints, but ultimately, unless there's serious illegal wrongdoing, then the finance company unfortunately will not be able to really do much. But of course, if you have concerns, let us know, but there really won't be anything that we can do. And it's sad to say, because we want to help out, but we're limited to what we can do, because by law you signed a contract and you agreed to accept the car upon delivery as is. So there's no going, it's a legally binding document. Just like if you were to sign a contract, if you were an NBA player, it's the same thing. If you're an NBA player and you don't like the team, you don't like the coach, guess what? You're stuck, because you signed the contract. So you kind of have to deal with it. So it's the same thing. So make sure everything's all good to go with the car. That's why it's important during like test driving, and that's why I said inspecting the car too, making sure everything's a-okay. Because once you signed, there's no going back, fam. You stuck like Chuck. I hate to say it that way, but we have to be real, because people have this notion that you could take a car back if you don't like it. If you're good with all of your charges, then you can go ahead and sign that contract, girl. No, I'm just kidding, but not really. But yeah. But yeah, you should be all good to go after that. And lastly, once everything is all said and done, the dealership should give you a copy of everything. They better. I wouldn't leave the dealership until they do. You definitely want to copy of the contract and all of the corresponding paperwork, just to make sure you have that for your records, because there are times where you need to refer back to it. Usually if you misplace your paperwork, your lender, if you call them up, they're able to get that sent. Again, check with your lender to make sure, because the lender I work for, we are able to get that sent out to customers, like any document that pertains to your deal. We have that on file because the company, well, not the company, the dealership has to send all of that documentation over to us so that your lender has it on file. It's copies for each party, basically. A car is a major purchase. You want to know exactly what all of your terms were. Well, y'all, I think that was pretty much everything that I could think of that could help y'all save time when you go to the dealership and know what you're getting into and what to look out for. But if there's anything that I missed, definitely put it in the comments and I could always try to address it in another video. And yeah, if you are still looking to get a car, good luck. I hope you get a great deal. And for those out there who need a car but aren't able to get one due to what we're going through right now, just know that I'm always praying for everybody. I know what it's like. I've been without a job for a prolonged period of time, and those with families and young children, I know it's definitely something that you want to end right now, but everything is gonna get better and we're gonna spring back after this. Hopefully it won't be too long we're in this predicament, but just know I'm thinking about you guys and hope everything will get better soon. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, gave you guys some tips there that you could use in the future. And yeah, definitely if you're not looking to buy a car right now, these are all still good for when everything gets back to normal. You could use all of these tips. If you have any suggestions on what I should talk about next in a video, definitely feel free to comment down below. And you guys could also follow me on Instagram and Snapchat, both at Megan Victor, MEGHANVICTOR. Yeah, I'm active. I need to get back on my Instagram game. But yeah, I'm active on Snapchat for the most part. Is Snapchat even a thing anymore? I don't know, but I use it. Act like a goofball, but hey, what are we there for if you're not acting like an ass? I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I will see you guys next time. Bye.